So what we want to do is, if you try to look at the controller, okay, controller, we have many endpoints, like this is the endpoint that we can use to actually fetch all the task, and this, okay. So for all these endpoints we want to have that authentication in place, like in the future we are going to implement the new entity that is called user, and only the authorized user should be able to access it. But for testing, I just want to have another endpoint that is just to that I mean anybody that return to the main page of this API, like just hit it without any further uh, uh, further uh, words, like further endpoints API task, then he should be able to get something. uh, so for this I'm just implementing another endpoint uh, on the this level, on the application level, okay. So let's just call this thing let's just copy this thing. It should be get endpoint, okay. Only the get endpoint, and get means, let's say, this home page, get home page. So this is actually home page endpoint. What should it return? It should return like this is a this is a uh, task management API home page, okay. So this is the thing that should return, and as you know, this is a string, so it should return as a string. uh, and that's it, okay. So this is actually what we wanted to return, and let's just remove the redundant things. So once we will land here, we will actually land to this page, that this is the task management API home page. Let's just try to run this thing, okay. And after it ran fine, then we will test it from the postman. So right now we will copy the username, and we will copy this thing, and we will test it from the postman to see how it is working. This is our postman. Let's try to access. Can we access it? No, it is saying that 401 unauthorized. So we have to actually uh, make it authorize, and how we will do it. uh, we are just checking all the options GWT, where we have many different things. Basic authentication is what that we are going to use, and we have user and we have password, okay. So this is the same password that actually copied from the spring logs, and let's just hit it right now. Oh, we are getting result. So uh, if we access it without any uh, forward, then it is this is a task management API home page. So this is what we actually implemented. So right now what we want to do is just, we want, user should be able to access it with this page without this user name password. Although this is not, the requirement, it does not happen in the API, but for testing purposes, or like for a use case, we want to implement it. So let's just stop the application, and let's just implement our own security configure, okay. So let's just have a class that is called a security configure, security config. That should be the name, security config. So this class, let's add it into the git, and let's just make sure that it is a configuration, and let's just have a enable web security. So these two annotations are there, and what I want to have, I want to have a bean. Why I want to have a bean? Because I want to implement a public method, and what should it should method security filter change. And let's just have a security filter change, and uh, what should it receive? It should HTTP request, HTTP request, and let's say it's called a HTTP request, okay. And what I want to do is just I want to uh, let's just have HTTP request that I have received, by the way. Let's just authorize it. uh, let's just have authorize it. uh, I mean it should be HTTP security, not request. That is actually a misunderstanding. It should be HTTP security. Yes, this thing. I was thinking that why it is not coming up. So it is an HTTP security. So I want to authorize request. Okay, I want to authorize request. So here I want to pass on lambda functions. Let's just say lambda function registry dot any matcher. I mean any request. I want to say that any request that it comes, uh, any request it comes, uh, I should have type any request. It should permit all the request. Okay, I think that's end here. Okay, that's end here. And what else I want to do is return to HTTP security dot. I mean, let's just have it HTTP to make it simple. Otherwise, we'll just have to type all the words. And http dot build. So this is what we have to return, and you can understand that it was actually returning, and we have to actually throw an exception as well, that is called exception. Okay, so let's just remove this thing. So basically what we have done is actually we have actually allowed all the I mean all the request that will come here. We are just permitting all the request. uh, in a bit of time I will say that how we'll actually bypass only the home request and not the other requests. So let's just run it and let's just check it that whether we are actually getting the result or not. So this is the same function. So let's just hit it right now, and I just make sure that it is a no authentication mode. Oh, we are getting result. Oh, and let's just have an API task. So we are getting all the results. So initially we have Spring securities in the code, but we have defined ourselves, and the effect of it is we are actually bypassing all the things, and the user is able to access all the endpoints. We will soon find out that how we actually only bypass home endpoint, and this the restriction should be placed right here. Okay, so here we are. You understand the purpose, what we want to do. So here we have to do something like for forward slash it should permit all, and I mean for initially it was any request. Okay, it was any request and there was no request matcher in it. It was just something like this. So we have to change it to the request matcher, and request matcher means forward slash. I mean for home page it should allow, and for registry dot request matcher. And what type of request matcher I'm thinking API, and forward slash any means anything is there, it should be authenticated. Okay, so now it means that authenticated, because we have actually implemented our authentication. Now we have to provide our own authentication, means username and password, or we have to use uh, from the provided, like this provided the password and the username. So right now what I want to do is just I want to use its own authentication, and with using with the defaults. Okay, so I will run it again, and I will copy the password that it will give me, and the username will be user. So I am copying the password, and let's just test it from the postman that whether we are getting the result or not. Okay, so this is the this is the home page. It's no authentication. Let's hit it. Oh, we are getting result. Awesome. And let's just try to access the API task. Are we getting result? No, we are not getting that. We are getting 401 unauthorized. So it is unauthorized because there is no such things we have actually provided. Let's enable basic authentication, and let's just copy the password that cost password we copy, because every time application generates a new password. Let's just hit it and we are getting result. So it means basic authentication is actually enabled for it. And if we want to get any particular task, we can actually get that task. IT is equal to 1, something like this has to be done. Okay, so it means that things are working. So right now what we want to do is we want to have an authentication in place, but we want to use our username and password instead of the default password or the default username. Like right now, if you run the application, you will find out that uh, we are actually getting user generated password. So this password we are using that actually change every time. So we want to have our own passwords. So how we can, and I mean we will be doing the same thing. We will have a username and password. So this will actually work for us, but we just want to have a username and password, our own username and password. So let's just go to the application and username, and here we have a spring. So what we have to do is actually we have to apply security. Okay, security user, and then we have to provide username, and then we have to provide password, the password that actually we want. So let's say username is called user, let's say ABC. I think let's just call it a user to be simplified, and password for let's call AB123. Okay, and let's just run it again to see are we getting the user generated security password or not. So you can see from the logs that we are not getting the user generated password. So let's just test from the uh, postman to verify. So here is the postman. Let's try to hit it without any authentication to the main endpoint, and this is a task management API homepage. So let's just try to hit all the other endpoint. So we are getting 401 unauthorized. That was expected behavior. And basic authentication, let's say user and password it is same. So we are getting the result. It means that thing is working. And let's just try to get one more thing. So we are getting, so it means that our custom username and password is enabled.